sweet team, but this is not sweet Adjeley, guys. This is man's queen. Welcome back to my channel. I know some of you guys are like, what is she saying? That is not her intro. Yes, that is sweet Adjeley's intro. Who does not know her? So in today's recipe, I will be trying sweet Adjeley's Ghana sugar bread recipe. This was my first attempt, and I decided that I was going to share it regardless of how bad or good it turned out. And as you can see in preparation, I'm already making some of my Milo. Come on, what is Ghana sugar bread or Ghana anything without some good old Milo? And look at that neato. If you have some peak milk powder, go for it, sis. So without wasting much of your time, let's get on with the baking. Again, this is Man's Queen, and you are welcome to my kitchen. So to get started, these are the ingredients that I'm going to be using today. Here I have 3 cups of all-purpose flour already sifted. I have a 1/4 cup of salted butter. Here I have 2 teaspoons of instant yeast. This is the brand that I get from Aldi. You can find it in any grocery store, and each individual pack is about 2 teaspoons of instant yeast. I also have a 1/4 cup of sugar, and this was the perfect sweetness. It was not too sweet. Here I have 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Yeah, she used fresh nutmeg, but I could not find it, but this is organic nutmeg, so it tastes really good. And I have about 3/4 cups of water, and this is lukewarm water. Like we all know, with baking and working with yeast, you need lukewarm water. Now, she used butter flavor in her recipe, but instead I'm going to be using vanilla extract. Yes. To start with, I got my mixer ready, and I'm going to pour in the flour first. Then I'm going to add the sugar. Also add some salt. And then I add in the ground nutmeg, also the pack of yeast. Yes, if you're not using a stand mixer, you can just go ahead and whisk all the ingredients together. Yes, and then all I'm doing is creating a well in the middle to pour in the wet ingredient, which is the melted butter. Now guys, as you know, with baking, the quality of your butter, of your fat, will always determine how good your baked goods are gonna taste. So yeah, that is always a good tip. Use some good quality butter. This is my Irish butter that I'm using today. I'm gonna add half of the water to the mixing bowl, and then I would put on my mixer, and we are gonna be kneading this dough on low. Yes, you do not want to knead this too fast. Okay guys, we're making bread. And then I'm gonna add in my vanilla extract, because I forgot to add it at the beginning. Now I'm just adding my water in bits. Yes, I measured 3/4 cups of water. I ended up using the 3/4 cups, and I think I added about 1 tablespoon. So say 3/4 cups and 1 tablespoon of water. That's what I ended up using in my batter. So all you want to look for is a thick, non-sticky consistency. So just keep mixing it, and it does not take too long to get that dough ready. Let me put my disclaimer out there already, y'all. Okay, this is my first attempt, and you're gonna find out at the end how the final result is gonna be like. Now this is what my dough is looking like, and I think it is okay. And as you can see, our dough is nice and stretchy, and it is not sticky at all. Okay, so now I'm just gonna ball it up. putting it back into the bowl, and I would go ahead and wrap it up with some plastic wrap. That way it does not get dry, and let it rest for about 10 minutes. Yes, at this point, I'm also going to go ahead and grease my baking pan. Now, this is the butter that I always use in most of my baking recipes. Now, I'm just going to say right here that this was the #1 mistake that I made in this recipe, because I did not know what size of pan Sweet Adjeley used. I'm going to put the size of my pan on the screen, but it turns out that my pan is bigger than hers. So I think my bread would have been even better if I had used just one of my pans, because they're so big. I believe her pans were smaller. Yes, so I would say that if you are making this quantity and you're using my size of pan, only use one pan. That way you will get a big old loaf. I ended up using two, and it was a little too big for the loaves. So yeah, this is the dough after 10 minutes, and now I'm just gonna cut it up in the middle. I'll try to make it as even as possible. Like I said, this was my first attempt, and it was actually it was a lot of fun making it. She was detailed in her description, but hey, I don't know, we're gonna find out how I would do, and there's always gonna be a comeback, so watch out for that. I am doing a part 2 of this one, a second trial, and it's gonna be a bomb, okay? So now what you see me doing here is rolling out the dough. You can press it down with your hands. I'm just using my rolling pin to roll it out, and I have my baking pan right against it. That way I can see the length of it. And then I folded it into 2, and then I'm just gonna press it down again with the rolling pin. Like she mentioned in her recipe, this Ghana sugar bread does not need double rising. Yes, it does not need all of that. So I found it quite easy, and this is what my dough looks like when stretched. And now I'm just gonna roll it up into like a log, and as you can see, I'm trying to make it as tight as possible, just so it would not open up when it gets into the hot oven. And I'm also nipping around the edges. Yeah, so that's all I'm doing, rolling up into a log. And when it gets to the end, what I'm gonna do is I would pinch that end. Yes, those sides, I will pinch them down and just make it a little seamless. That way, like I said, it would not open up while baking, because the oven is hot, so you have the tendency for your baked good to open up while you were baking. Hey sweet, I think I'm a good student. Yes guys, so I'm just gonna place them in the baking pans, and this is what it looks like. Now I'm gonna cover it up with wrap, and I would put it in a warm place. You need a warm place so that your bread can rise. So for me, I would put it in my oven. So what I do with any yeast mixture that I'm making, puff or any of those recipes, I put my oven on warm for about 5 minutes, turn it off, and then I put my stuff right into it and just close it. Yes, and leave the oven light on as well. So yes, you do not need a hot oven. Your oven should not be on, okay? So just warm and let it rise for about an hour. And this is an hour later, and this was why I was saying that my dough, my baking pan was too big for 2 loaves. So I could have used 1 baking pan and made 1 big loaf, but hey, like I said, this was my first trial, and I said I was going to share it with you guys regardless. Now I'm going to put it into an oven. I have preheated this oven at 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and I will bake it for 20 minutes. Now Sweet Adjeley mentioned in her video that you can bake it between 15 to 20 minutes depending on how brown you want it. And hey, since y'all already know I'm a crust girl, I like my brown edges. This is what my bread looks like after 20 minutes. And I'm gonna take it up a notch. Yes, I'm gonna take it up a notch by swiping all of the hot butter on it, on this hot bread. Guys, when I tell you this time, she said the smell of her freshly baked bread brings her kids out. And I'm telling you, my husband walked into the kitchen and I couldn't even remember how to say welcome, like welcome babe. I was like chale aquaba. Now, my honest review. This recipe, oh my goodness. First of all, I think the addition of the nutmeg was what did it for me. As you all know, if you've been following my recipes, you know that I like adding nutmeg. I'm a nutmeg kind of girl. It just elevated the flavor of this bread, and the vanilla that I added, guys, sweet, if you have not tried it with vanilla, go ahead and try it, sis. It was so delicious. Man, my husband could not have enough of this bread. The following day, he was eating it for breakfast and he said, babe, this bread is really good. I said, okay, I'll make sure I'll let her know that her recipe turned out really good. So I believe that for a first attempt, I did good. Now, she mentioned that you have to do like a fail or pass test, okay? And I'm about to do that in a minute. I was so nervous before I got to that part. She mentioned that when your bread is out of the oven and you cut into it, you do not want that fufu or fufu-y texture in the middle, which means you do not want any of that wet consistency. So now we about to find out. And this is it. And she said you should flip it and it should bounce right back at you, baby. And look at that bread. Can your bread ever bounce like this? Sweet, you are the bomb. I so love it. When it bounced right back, I was like, yes, sis. Even if I was not going to share this recipe, I am sharing it just because it's bouncing. And look at that when I open it. It is so good. And man, I just like carbs, period. Now, of course, you know I'm going to add some butter and let her start melting into this warm bread. My sister was out at this point. She loved it. My whole family loved it. I highly recommend this recipe. And like I said, I am gonna do another part of this video of this recipe, but I'm gonna be using, no, I'm not gonna tell you. You will find out. I am coming back with another one, and like I said, give it a try. If you do not know Sweet Adjeley, I would leave her link in the description box. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in my next video. Until then, stay safe. I love you all.